So, Doug, I'm really pleased to start this series with you. I'm really honored to have had the opportunity to get to know you. So this is going to be a series on mental toughness. And as I've already expressed to you, I'm personally interested and curious about the concept, and you are the expert. You've written many books on the concept. So the first question I obviously have is, could you give us a definition of mental toughness, please?
Well, firstly, thank you, Maria, for inviting me to this series. I'm really privileged to do this. I really admire your work and leadership too. So if we look at mental toughness is in some senses a very old concept. We've always known it to be important, but it's only recently that we've begun to understand what it is. And interestingly, the very first written reference that we can find to mental toughness was by a Greek philosopher, Plato, who described it as fortitude, and he identified it as one of the four virtues, which we still hold to in Western society today. So that gives you a clue that mental toughness might have some significance. And over the years, it's become known as attitude or mindset. People have talked about resilience, hardiness. And in fact, the concept embraces all of those. Now, Professor Peter Clough carried out some seminal work in the late 1990s, which was published in 2002, and he was able to define mental toughness as a personality trait, and a personality trait which describes the way we respond mentally to events. Those events can be setbacks, adversity, but it can also be challenges and opportunities and change. And the interesting thing about it is that once we understand, we dig underneath the skin of the concept, what we learn is that it's also describing a personality trait that doesn't change according to circumstances, a very stable concept. So that's kind of a definition of it. I mean, since then, we've been able to get, well, there are now more than 250 peer-reviewed independent academic research papers. So one of the things we're very proud of is that it stands the test of time, and it stands a lot of very detailed scrutiny. But it's also, what we now know is that, well, from the original work that Peter did, he was able to identify that mental toughness consisted of four constructs. That was, these are mental constructs: the sense of control, commitment, challenge, and confidence. Since then, we've been able to dig a lot deeper. A lot of research has been carried out, and we know that those four constructs are themselves composed of 8 factors. Those 8 factors, we may have to speak about at another time, but those 8 factors are independent factors. And that is hugely significant because it's actually changing the way we understand people and organizations in a very important way. Firstly, because they're independent factors, there are literally tens of thousands of combinations of those factors. So just to illustrate it, you could have at least 40,000 people in a room, and every single person in that room would have a different mental toughness profile, and therefore would be responding differently to a challenge you might set them. So understanding people at that sort of detail and recognizing their uniqueness is actually one of the holy grails of people in organizational development. We tend to treat people as types. You know, there are models out there that simplify that, but by simplifying things, you lose a lot of that granularity that you actually need. In fact, coaches should be heading in our direction, not in the opposite direction. If you really want to understand your client, you dig deep. You don't work with them at a high level. The other thing is, we're definitely not about judgment. Mental toughness is a scale. So at one end, you've got mental toughness, and the other end, you've got mental sensitivity. There's a temptation to think of those as good or bad, or strong or weak. And we see that in a lot of other models. You know, the temptation with like growth mindset is say, growth mindset's good, fixed mindset's bad. That's not the case. What we're understanding is that with mental toughness and mental sensitivity is simply who you are. And there is nothing good or bad about any of the positions on any of those scales. In fact, a mentally tough person could easily struggle and fail, and a mentally sensitive person can thrive. The key to it is self-awareness. If you understand yourself, then you can optimize. And that takes us to kind of another barrier that we're breaking with the concept, and that's the idea of development. The temptation in a lot of development activity is, I'm going to change you. What we're realizing is in an awful lot of cases, perhaps 50% of the time, there's no need to change. There's a need to understand and make the most of what you've got. I don't have to change you. You're already a pretty effective package. You just need to optimize that. And so we're beginning to bring in a lot of challenging ideas through the world of people and organizational development. But that can only happen because we've dug to such a deep level.
Amazing. Fascinating. And I'm glad, Doug, we have agreed to do a series of those short videos, because just from your first response, I have like a zillion other questions. So I'm inviting our audience to watch this space for the rest of the videos. From today's brief conversation, I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, so this is a personality trait. It's how we respond mentally. I'm interested about the concept that you said. It's a stable concept. It's made up of 4 constructs: control, commitment, challenge, and confidence, all beginning with C, by the way, I noticed. And there are 8 factors, which I'm sure we'll get to on the next videos. There is a scale, so it's not about being good or bad. And my favorite aspect, as you know, you and I, we always agree, it always goes back to self-awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for the definition. Everyone, watch this space for the next one.